9 ways to deal with failure. So these are some lessons I've actually learned from John C. Maxwell, 3 things successful people do. I learned this from his book. First thing I would do is I'll ask myself, what lesson have I learned? Because every single failure you're gonna encounter in your life, there's a lesson to be learned within that failure. So that, like, my mentality is that there's no good or bad situation in life. There's only events and circumstances that we go through to identify what we don't want. Because once we can clearly define what we don't want, now we can focus on what we do want and we can maximize it. And with time in life, everything always works out to your advantage. You always look at things, you always might think that stuff is a negative, but it's actually not a negative. It's actually a positive. It's allowing you to clarify what you want out of life. So that's my mentality in life. But the first way I would deal with fear is I would always ask myself, what lesson have I learned? I remember the first fear it wasn't even a failure because it allowed me to actually get into a better industry. One of my first business I was starting, I lost like $100,000 it was like in a week. Literally it was like 14 days. I lost $100,000 in 14 days. Some people, they would, it's over with, right? But I didn't think like that. First, I was like, for once, it was like probably like 10 minutes, I was like, damn. But then after I started thinking, how can I bounce back? Because I already acquired skill set to make me bounce back. So I didn't really dwell on the situation. I was thinking about how can I bounce back from this situation? And by me bouncing back from that situation, I actually had a bigger breakthrough. So I bounced back from the situation faster than ever before. So because I looked at the lesson that was learned within that failure. So by me looking at the lesson that was learned within that failure, it allowed me to persevere, allowed me to keep going. Now, the second thing I would do, I would tell myself that I am grateful for this experience, because the thing about entrepreneurship and the thing about life is that the more thing you experience, that's what you get paid for. So anytime I deal with failure, I feel so good about it, because I'm like, oh my God, somebody else don't have to go through this, because now I could profit off of it. I could profit off my failures and show people what not to do, so they don't have to show people what to do, so they don't have to go through that failure themselves. So I'll always look at it and be grateful for that failure, because I'll be like, damn, what lesson can I really learn from this? Now I can start really thinking about all the lessons I'm learning from this and being grateful for this experience that I'm acquiring. So now I can be able to see how I can be able to benefit from this experience. Now, number 3, I will ask myself, how can I turn this failure into success? How can I benefit from this? Like I was saying in the previous one, how can I benefit from this failure? That's what I would start asking myself, because I wouldn't look at it, like I said, I wouldn't look at it as a good or bad situation. I'll look at it, how can I benefit from this? How? Because at the end of the day, somebody's gonna face this too. There's over 7 billion people on this planet. So how can I benefit from me going through this failure? And I'll always ask myself that. So if you ever encounter failures, you need to ask yourself that, because by asking yourself that, you're not gonna look at it as a failure. You're gonna look at it as an event that you're gonna go through to get to exactly where you wanna go. Now, the fourth thing I would do is ask myself, where do I go from here? Am I gonna look at this as a negative situation, or am I gonna see am I gonna look at this as a negative situation, or am I gonna see what God is putting in front of me to be able to identify what I want? So I would say, where do I go from here? I'll ask myself, where do I go from here? Am I gonna keep doing what I was doing before, or am I gonna persevere and do something better? Now, the 5th question I would ask myself is, who else has failed in this way and how can they help me? You see, remember I told you guys that I lost like over 100 grand in like 14 days, right? If I were to look at that situation as a negative situation, I wouldn't have never persevered. So what I did to get out of that situation, luckily, I had $36,000 in my savings, which was crazy. Luckily, I had that in my savings, right? So I paid a mentor to show me exactly what I have to do so I don't have to face that situation again. But I looked at it like, damn, who else have encountered this failure before? And I was listening to an audio. Aristotle and Onassis, he was like, if he was flat broke, he would do one thing that would reestablish his wealth, and that is associate with wealthy people, and it's because success breeds success. So I was like, who else have ever encountered this failure before? Who can I get around that encountered something like this before, so I can keep growing instead of dwelling on the situation? So guess what I did? I got around other people who have already experienced that themselves. Even more, I've got one of my friend I got around. He's like, oh, you lost 100 grand? Oh, I lost 300 grand. I was like, damn. So now I was looking at my situation like, damn, my situation wasn't bad, but I started looking at my situation which was bad because they taught me exactly what to do to be able to bounce back. So, but I wouldn't have never been able to know what to do to bounce back if I wouldn't have got myself into people who I already achieved the success that I wanted. So I had to leave my environment. I had to get around people who have what I want. And it's hard to get around people like that. And a lot of people can afford some stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're encountering a situation, get around. It doesn't matter. You don't have to spend that much like how I did, but you can get around other people who's doing the same thing as you because your success, whatever success you have, there's people around you who have the success on that level. So get around those type of people and they will tell you exactly what they did to overcome that. Now, the sixth question I'll ask myself is that how can my experience help someone from failing? How can my experience help someone from failing? I'll ask myself that because as an entrepreneur, you can always benefit from your knowledge. You can always benefit from your experience. So I'll ask myself, how can this benefit somebody else? Because people don't want to go through that situation. So I would literally ask myself that and figure out how it can benefit somebody else. And maybe I'll create a product around it. Maybe I'll create something around it so other people don't have to go through that experience. That's how entrepreneurship is born. Now, the seventh thing I'll ask myself is that, did I actually fail because of another person or my situation, or was it because of myself? I'll ask myself that question because I really want to know, was it because of somebody else? Was it because of the situation I was in? Or was it because of myself? Because once I know how I failed, I'll know exactly how to overcome that next time. And you always want to take personal responsibility for all your failures and everything in life. Because when you take personal responsibility for yourself, that's when you start to achieve stuff in your life. Number 8, did I actually fail or did I fall short from an unrealistic standard? You see, when I told you guys I lost so much, right? It wasn't that I actually failed. It was because I fell short from an unrealistic standard. My goal was to do $2 million that month, right? So I scaled so high up with my business and everything crashed because I couldn't sustain the scale. So everything crashed because it was an unrealistic standard at the time. I just thought, oh, you could just scale up and stuff like that, but I didn't know how to sustain that. So everything, my merchant account, everything just crashed. So I will ask myself that so I don't have to encounter that again. Now, number 9, I'll ask myself, where did I succeed as well as failed? Because even when you go through something bad, like I said, there's always positive. If I wouldn't have tried to scale my business that high when I was first started, I wouldn't have never learned how to really scale. I wouldn't have never knew that I could scale that high. Now I know I can scale that high anytime I want once my systems and everything in place, but I wouldn't have never knew I could scale that high if I wouldn't have tried it. So there's always a positive. So now I know I got to put more systems in place to be able to sustain that skill when I do start scaling that high. So there's always a positive to your situation. So you never want to look at situation as negative because like I said, there's no good or bad situation in life. There's only events and circumstances that we go through to identify what we don't want. Because once we see what we don't want, now we can focus on what we do want. So if you're new to my channel, every single day, I post videos just like this to help you become successful and take you to where you want to go. I want you to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, we talk about business. We talk about taking your mindset to the next level. We talk about taking your life to your next level. We talk about you to help you become a better version of yourself. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel right now and make sure you comment down below which of these principles really resonated with you. And make sure you go check out my next video coming up. I will see you guys there.